All right, we have here Mr. Terrell William Cottle, and used to,
One and only.
the one and only right here. And so, but anyway, I'm just going to ask you a few questions. So, what did you used to do for a living?
I used to drive a truck.
What did you haul?
I used to haul for a big lot. I used to haul heavy equipment.
All right, what else? What kind of equipment? I remember you used to work at the Vulcan.
Yeah, Vulcan Materials in Atlanta.
Yeah, and so,
I used to haul heavy equipment like bulldozers, and front end loaders, rock crushers, conveyor belts, all kind of stuff.
so
That's not where I learned to drive a truck.
you used to do bread trucks and that too,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I
Do
worked
bread
at the
trucks.
Colonial Bakery for a few years, and delivering bread.
All right, and you used to will you go to Atlanta, picking them up? Did you pick up Atlanta or did you take it to
Oh,
Atlanta?
we had a bakery here in Montgomery.
And you took it to Atlanta?
I take it to LaGrange and Columbus. That was my route.
Oh, okay. You did that every day, didn't you?
Yeah, every night.
Yeah, and you,
I wish it could have been days.
when you were married to Susan, y'all couldn't have any children. At least you thought you couldn't. You
Thought
never
we
could.
couldn't.
And so you wind up adopting
Adopted Paul.
Paul as a biracial, and
Yeah.
and he was when he was younger, his mama was a prostitute or something like that.
Yeah, she was a prostitute, and he was born addicted to drugs. He was real sick little
And
baby.
y'all how did y'all find him?
Well, we'd been in foster care.
Okay, taking care of kids. I got you.
Program and we'd keep children, and he came to us through foster care, and he came from a real bad background, and I don't know, we just fell in love with him.
And you decided you want
When
to keep him for
they
your own.
told us he was going to be coming up for adoption, we decided we wanted to adopt him.
Now, when did going back to some of your spirituality and that? When did you first get to know about Jesus?
Oh, I've known about Jesus ever since I was a little kid, but knowing about him and really, and inviting him into your heart is two different things.
How did you get to know him?
Well, I knew him a lot through you when we was growing up. 'Cause I remember you used to preach to me quite a bit.
When did you get saved?
Well, I got saved. I lived over in Atlanta. Susan, my first wife, just had started going to Landmark Church, with this charismatic church. And I'd never been into a charismatic church, and somebody she worked with invited her, and she went a few times and talked me into going. And I didn't want to.
And what was the name of the church?
Landmark Church.
Landmark Church.
Landmark Church.
Brother Pastor Kelly was the pastor.
Right. He's gone on to glory land now. I decided I'd go one Sunday, and of course I've always been into music. I love music, and I go in there. The preacher's wife playing this big old grand piano, and she is playing that piano's just rocking back and forth. I mean, she is really playing that thing, and that's what got me. And interested in this church. I said, I like that. They had people up there with guitars, playing with guitars, and I'd never seen that before, in a church. I always thought you had to be kind of quiet, and Reverend, these people was up dancing around up and down the aisle. I said, I kind of like that. It's weird, but I kind of like it, Anyway, I kept, going a few times, and we had a good friend there, Gloria Flynn, I think was her name. Yeah, had James and Gloria Flynn. We made friends with them, and she used to come pray with me a lot, and she'd ask me if I was saved, and I really was. I hadn't really, per se, accepted Christ. I was telling her, yeah. You know, oh yeah. I know. But I really didn't. You know, I never had really invited him
In your heart.
personally into my heart. Yeah, I knew of him. I believed the Bible, and I just didn't really practice it much. And I don't remember exactly how it came down anyway. Me and Susan was having a hard time, which we normally did a lot back then. And Gloria had called, and I was talking to her, and I was just letting her know, what a bad time we was having financially, just everything, just nothing seemed to be going right. She asked me to pray sinner's prayer with her, And I said, yes, I'll pray it with you. And we did. And it was just like, I wouldn't say lights and bells going off, but I felt different. And I invited Christ into my heart on the phone right there.
You did it over the phone?
Over the phone.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, I had a lot to learn. and I did. I learned a lot. Started going to church, and I had a different attitude about myself, and to know what it was really like.
What changes he made in your life?
Well, I've always just been me. I always try to live for Christ and walk away from trouble, away from sin if you can.
What made a difference now between what you used to be like and what you like now? What's the difference now? How you thought and stuff like that?
I'm more understanding now. When I see somebody who's having trouble in their lives, I try to be careful not to judge them, because I know what they're going through. They could be having a hard time dealing with whatever, and you don't know sometimes what they're dealing with and how it affects them. But you have to go slow with some people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of them. You still have to go slow with me sometimes. I'm just a stubborn old cuss sometimes.
That's for sure.
Well, you don't have to agree with it. You could disagree.
Well, I gotta say this. Terry and I have been friends since the 7th grade, so we always called ourselves Fathead and stuff like that.
That's been, what, 7 or 8 years ago?
Every bit of it. So anyway, we've had a good time through the years and all, and so I will let that call come back another time, and so we'll answer that later. So, but anyway,
We've been through thick and thin a lot of times.
you've been through a lot of times, and how Christ has protected you when you had, how many truck wrecks have you had?
Two really bad ones, and a couple of fender benders, but.
And they could have really taken you out right there.
Yeah, I had 2 that could have taken me out, and thankfully didn't take anybody else out.
Well, I appreciate you giving your testimony and telling us
Well,
how.
God is still working on me. He ain't done with me yet, because, it's been
Anything
a bad
recently that how he's helped you or anything like
This is
that?
a bad week, I lost my sweetheart.
Yeah, lost to the Lord, and has Holy Spirit been there to comfort you?
Yeah.
He's been there, and Terry's he just lost his wife this week. It's been a tough thing, and so, but the Holy Spirit has been there with him, and I told him he would, and
That's the only way I've been getting by.
the Holy Spirit he said he'd never leave you nor forsake you, didn't he? And so, but anyway, and that's one of the hardest things I think a man could go through is to lose a spouse. But the Holy Spirit came and comforted you, and through this time, He's going to still be with you. And so, any dear person who might have lost their spouse, when you know Jesus in your heart and you know your spouse is saved, does that bring you any comfort, Terry, knowing you're going to see her again?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that you know when
I
you,
had
it
a
was, it's
dream
not
last
goodbye.
night about that.
Yeah.
That I had gone back in time, was with her, but I had that feeling I know I'm gonna be with you again.
Yeah. And he's going to be with you this time here, and how that when you, Christ just makes a difference in your whole
Yeah.
life. He gives you peace and joy in your heart.
I wouldn't want to go through this without.
No, you
Christ
couldn't.
in my heart.
How can you imagine anybody going through this losing a spouse? They love him so much.
As emotional as I get, I'm a pretty emotional guy, you know. I get emotional, you know, over some of the smallest things sometimes.
Somebody that's
But-
I mean to interrupt you, but what if you somebody who's teeter-tottering about Christ? What would be your advice to them?
If they're teeter-tottering, don't give up. Don't give up on Christ. Just keep praying. You know, Christ will change you.
Do you have any regrets of asking Christ to come in your heart?
No, I know. I don't.
He's been there for you, hasn't he? And still is.
Yeah, it still will. And I don't, you know, I always wonder why her and not me, but
Not for us to
it's
say.
not for us to decide, like to say,
But he's there. He always will be. He said he'd never leave us nor forsake us. Well, I thank you for your testimony that you've given us, and we're going to share this with other people. And God be with you, Terry, and we love you, brother.
love you too.